Afternoon, good day, everybody, dear grinder. Welcome to this fireside chat with Roger ASSAKER. Before we start, a few housekeeping notes about our Startup Grind. Startup Grind, we have a mission. Our mission is to give companies everywhere the education and opportunities they need to build, grow, and scale their companies. And our values, in which we believe are, we believe in making friends, not contacts. We believe in giving first, not taking. And we believe in helping others before helping yourselves. So now, without further ado, welcome, Roger.
Thanks, Steve. Pleasure to be here.
We are pleased to have you here. Before we start, could you just, in a nutshell, explain us what are you doing actually? What are the products or services you are actually offering or developing? Just in a nutshell to start the conversation.
Yeah, I just started in new company five quarter ago in last October, and the objective of this company called MedSim is to develop a software as a medical device, which is building a digital twin of the spine, of the patient's spine, to help surgeon plan spine surgery, to help surgeon with optimizing his strategy to correct the degeneration and deformity of the spine.
Thank you. That's what you're doing now. But how did it all started? I mean, you have a very interesting journey. And when we met, I mean, you were a little bit like an employee in a corporate at that time. And how did it come that you made this step to become independent, to become an entrepreneur, or to look into the entrepreneurial ecosystem? What was the trigger at the time?
As you said, after my PhD, I was hired in a large industrial corporation in Luxembourg, where I worked for 5 years. But during this 5 years, I was, half in, half out. I discovered that doing pure research and development in a large corporation where it depends on a lot of people to get to market, and you don't feel the customers directly, you don't feel the purpose directly, you don't feel what you are doing, you don't feel the impact of your action immediately. Your action are connected to the action of 100,000 other people to get something to market which is used anonymously. So I very much discovered that although I liked the technology a lot, the research that I was doing, I liked it a lot, but the impact, I didn't feel it. I didn't feel the impact of my action. There was no direct connection between my action and the results that I was doing. So I asked myself, is this what I wanted to do for the next 30, 40 years? And the answer was very rapidly no. I like to learn, so I decided to do an MBA in the evenings to, I said I'm an engineer, but I have nothing, I don't know anything finance or whatever.
All right. Okay, let's start from where you were as a corporate, then you found this technology you've been talking about, and you were just saying, okay, how you were going about it in order to get it into the market.
Yeah.
How did you go there about that one?
Yeah. So as I said, some basic technology, no product for real, and not really an understanding of the market, but some network, some connections, and especially a willing to succeed kind of story. So what we've done is we started from the inner circle, the first two companies that I know, the one that I worked for and the other one that I was just internship with. And both of them, I get them to become a customer very fast, even without the product. by listening, by sells them like a dream, kind of sells them a vision and shows them that we are reliable. So what basically I discussed with them to understand what they need. And even if they didn't know it for real and they didn't believe in it for real, I basically showed them even on a whiteboard that we can do it. We can, and it's good if you are ignorant and if you are if you don't know what you don't know, if you don't know the difficulty, you can sell an idea, and it became a motto of the company at the end of the day. If many presentations that I do, I say one of our key success factor is fake it before you make it. Part of the culture of the team that I built is fake it before you make it, but with a twist. And the twist is always make it. So what we've done is, we promised, we said, yeah, we could solve it. And in my mind, is I said, if somebody can solve it, why not us? So we have like a good team. We are, good enough. We are serious enough, and so on. So if there's a way, we can do it. And this is how we've done it times and times and times and times and times again. It's not like waiting to get the first product and then try to sell it. It's go to the customer, try to understand what his pain is, understand in the topics that we know, and then say we can do it. And what is funny is when you are a mature company and trying to sell a product which is not innovative and like working on price or versus competition and so on, typically when you go to a company, you find a lot of objection. And one of the key techniques to sell is to manage objection. Honestly, in our case, it was not objection so much. It was more like companies would like to, they saw the energy and the ambition, and they want to help us get in instead of helping us stay out, kind of story. It's funny, but again, all the success was based on the, fake it until you make it, but always make it. So never kind of backed up on a promise, even if it took us sometimes 2 years instead of one, or it cost us 500,000 instead of 200,000, but we assumed it all, and then we built like the number one product on the market at the end of the day.
Thank you. You were already touching a little bit on the sales cycle, the time it takes to get to deliver to the customer, even if they believe in you. How did you then manage those expectations? Because on the one hand, it's great to have somebody believe in what you are going to offer them. And on the other hand, is also to manage the expectations, because on your client side, there are also changes. They're also evolving. I mean, the initial need probably also evolved already during the time you were delivering servers. How did you make sure that you were always on track? And when was the moment when you said, okay, this is it, now we can deliver. We deliver, and then we can send an invoice.
Yeah. So if we wanted to be able to say it's a perfect product to deliver, I could be still waiting until now. It's since I created this first company, we maybe developed 52 versions of the software. And it's normal in our industry because we are trying to solve complex industrial technical problems that you never, we are trying to simulate on a computer. We are, by mathematical description, real world problems which are extremely complicated. So it can take us forever before having the perfect product which can solve everything to 100%. So what I typically manage to do is like progressive. A sales cycle will take 9 to 12 months, before the customer will say yes. Typically, this is we need to manage cash and energy on that time. So we've done it. But once we deliver the product to the customer, we first solve for him maybe 5% of his need. The next 3 months, 10% of his need. The following 3 months. So we kind of kept on incremental improvement. So we solved some of his problem, not all of them, not perfectly. For instance, at the beginning of a customer, to solve a problem, it takes him like 3 months to solve one problem. After the next release, maybe it will take him 2 months to solve the same problem, and so on and so forth. So, but what is interesting is, first, it works in a highly innovative and differentiated product. So he cannot like find 10 other products on the market which solve the same problem cheaper and faster and easier and so on. So the problem, we were like relatively unique, very complex solution. And then it's the intimacy that we build with the customer. All the customers like we're friends. I invite them at home. We know them inside out. Many of them apply to work for me, and so on and so forth. So it's a very intimate and never fail to deliver. This is a point, and thinking from the beginning to build like the success story of our customers inside of the people. People buy from people at the end of the day. You are selling to Boeing, to Airbus, to whoever you want, all the big companies, all the famous brands were our customers. But at the end of the day, what you need to manage is the person who is using your technology to advance his career, to solve the problem, to help him. So managing expectation was like, when a customer start with us, it was never a short, a one shot, like get his money and run away. We know that we were involved in the long run. I ran the company for 20 years, and some of the customers started in almost day one and remained with us. Our biggest customer started the month I created the company, and it's one of our biggest customers and still with us today, 25 years later. So go for the run and deliver what you promise.
That's one thing. And then there's also, a few questions popping up. But the one thing is, you were saying, okay, it was delivering a product. It was never really ready, but you could build instances of it. What you were offering, were these recurring revenue stream, or was it more, as you said, incremental? Okay, we have this one, we serve it, and there's a service fee, and then okay, the needs they evolved, so we need to adapt it. So there's an incremental fee, then we get another service fee. Or how can one see the revenue model you were building on?
If I keep it simple, the revenue model is we lease the software. So majority of the deals were leasing of the software. So the customer will lease the software for 1 year, renewable. So typically they renew every year. And with this leasing, they get access to all the new versions. So every 6 months, they get a new version of the same software. So to solve more problems, to solve the problem faster, to improve on it. So typically and also when you develop a technology like this, it also needs time for the customer to absorb it, to implement it, to get the return on investment on it, to know how to apply it in his processes and so on. So it was like an incremental improvement. So a lease, every year they continue to lease, but to make sure that at the end of the year they renew their leasing, you need to make sure that the software has been used efficiently in the company, and they are not unhappy with your support, that they are happy with the capabilities, that they see value moving forward. So lease mostly. But in some cases, in some countries, culturally, they like to buy the software. In this case, they buy the software, but they also get a maintenance and support. They pay like 20-25% of the price to continue to get the updates of the software as they go. So it's one shot plus 20-25% every year for the next future.
You are already now touching a little bit the expansion and so on in other markets. Were it always the same vertical? I mean, the same industrial vertical, or were different verticals, and how was the efforts for you, I mean, for your company, to adapt to these different verticals? Because I can imagine that your solution, especially as you explained it, it's a lot back and forth with the customer to get it fine-tuned, and also that it fits their needs, that it's more or less bespoke, you may say. That it's not a one size fits all. How did you approach that one? Because that's also, I guess, a burden also on the organizational side from your company for the resources in order to develop it, and then also to really keep also the high quality standards which you had with your existing clients.
Yeah. So yeah, you're right. So if you are talking about the first company that I created, which is software for material modeling. So basically to understand materials, on the one side, to develop a new material, and especially in advanced materials like composite, carbon fiber and plastic matrix kind of. The objective of this software was to develop new material and to use material within an application, okay? So to develop material and use materials within an application. So you need to, we have different verticals. It's not one industry. So we sold to the automotive industry, to the aerospace industry, to the electronic industry, to the chemical industry, and so on and so forth. So we sold it to many industry verticals. It's always the same software. So we tried not to build otherwise you will never scale. If it's not the same basic, you will never scale. It will become like custom services kind of story. But the point is that you need to understand the problems of each industry. For instance, in the automotive, metal replacement was a big deal. At some point of time in the automotive industry, you want to reduce CO2 emissions. It was before even electrification. And you want to reduce CO2 emissions. You want to reduce the weight of the car. And composites can give you the same properties with less, I'm schematizing and simplifying, but basically you can reduce the weight by 40% by replacing a metallic part by a plastic part. So we understand this, we developed it for the first customer automotive, and then we kind of copy paste it to all this chain from OEMs to tier one to material suppliers. If you go to the aerospace industries, it was a development, for instance, of the Airbus A350 and the Boeing 787, which were above 50% composite materials. So we kind of played on this role. How can we help reduce the cost and the time to develop advanced composite aircrafts? And if you go to the electronics, you have mobile phones, how to do, if the mobile phone kind of drop, how it will break. If you go, medical industry, you name it. So we developed, what is important is again, it kind of boils down to the same story. If you are close to your customer or to your prospects and you network enough and you listen enough, you learn. Basically, they tell you what they need, and you just need to go and build it. It's relatively simple.
It's nice to hear that so simple. On the other hand, I mean, looking the evolution, growing customer base, also bigger customer, specifying and so on, following up, and this and that. Did you do it all out of Luxembourg on the one hand, and on the other hand, was it hard to find the resources? By resources, I don't mean financial resources. I mean human resources. I mean logistics. I mean regulatory stuff and so on. Was that a hard shift for you with that company in order to evolve, to scale further?
Yeah, our customer base was global from day one. So we never kind of counted on, we used local customers. So we sold to any customer which is present locally. both in Luxembourg and in Belgium. So we kind of started with the local customer, but we never counted that we'll stay local. So our core development was between Belgium and Luxembourg. But our customer base from day one, I had people in Japan, in China, in Korea, everywhere in the world. But the core development was done between Belgium and Luxembourg. And the most difficult point, before in my, first startup and now in the second one, is to find the people to hire and to attract them to you. This is the most difficult point because we want to hire the most clever on the one side and the most social, and we had a very strong focus on the culture, so to find the appropriate people in a relatively small ecosystem is very hard. And to bring people from outside, if you are an international company with a lot of resources, you can expat, you can do an expat contract with moving the family, the dog, and everybody. In a startup, it's hard to do it. And it's hard to compete on the level of salaries for these clever people. Basically, they are clever, they are unique. So the most difficult is to get the human resources needed. When you have the human resources, all the rest is the right human resources, all the rest is a piece of cake.
Now, getting back to this piece of cake, because you mentioned several times your previous startup and the actual company and so on. When was the time where you made the move from the first one to the next one? How did that happen? Is it just one day you stand up and said, okay, I'm fed up? Or were you happy to have an exit? Or how can we see that one?
Yeah, this is a very, very good question. And it's very kind of important. I created the first company, grew it for 10 years, was pretty much success, became number one in the area. And then I decided to sell because I wanted to experience something else. I wanted to have, I said, I created the company, okay, I grew it, okay, I built the team, okay, but I don't know anything about M&A, so let's sell it. So I decided to sell it not to the highest bidder, but I decided to sell it to the company where I fit some kind of good connection on the one side, and also with a business model which I liked. There was a long list of criteria, but the amount of money was not number one. And I will tell you, for the anecdote, one of the criteria that the company that I decided to sell to was based in California, and South California, that I liked more than a company which is, I don't know, in the in the middle of nowhere. So I liked, one of the criteria was this. So I sold it, and the CEO of that company became a close friend to me now. And they wanted to buy us, but we had the impression that we buy them instead of them buying us. And we kept the same entrepreneurial spirit, the same business model, the same everything, but with more resources. So it was a great success. And during the 5 years when I sold to this company, we multiplied our revenue by 3 or 4 because it continued to grow and everything continued to grow, both the business and the team and the fun. So for 5 years, it was crazy fun. And then we decided to sell, the head company and all the other startups that they were acquired to a larger company, which is like a listed company, about 4 or 5 billion in revenues, 20,000 people. And we continued to integrate within the company. I integrated my startup within the first company I sold to, then we sold everything. And then I became the CEO of the company to whom I sold within the larger group. I don't know if you're still following me. And then it's kind of mission accomplished. My first startup, Extreme, where became like a normal product line within a larger company. Also, I liked everything, and I loved Extreme. Extreme is even tattooed on my arm, the logo, to tell you how much I loved it. but I kind of closed the loop of becoming in a big company in a it's simplified, but in a kind of known trajectory. And this is when I said, what I wanted to do. Do I want to continue this until retirement, or should I want to create a new company? And I wanted to, and the anecdote there is that I wanted to have serial entrepreneur in my title, not entrepreneur, but serial entrepreneur. So I said, let's start again. And and there's many other reasons for this, but one of them was to add serial.
Okay, you added serial. And now, what are you doing now? I mean, because I'm saying, on the one hand, it's has to do with calculations and so on, but it's in a completely different area, if I may say, or different vertical. How did that come about?
Yeah, I will explain. If also you take business 101 or entrepreneurship 101, they will tell you use what you build during your career. I'm not that young anymore, but basically what you want to do is to build on what you know and leverage it, kind of build on it, right? And so I knew material modeling, I knew simulation. I had plenty of opportunities in the same industries that I was doing. I get offers to become CEO of 1 billion company, one other startup to remove, and the same industry, some things that I know. But I reviewed them all, and my idea was to create something and something that I don't know at all, and the something that I didn't know at all was medical. So I wanted, when I was managing the previous company, when I became the CEO of the company to whom I sold to, I had 2 points which are close to my heart. One is simulation for medical, and one is simulation for sustainability to improve the environment. The simulation for sustainability, I was able to implement it in the frame of the industrial company. But simulation, the numerical modeling that we know for the simulation for medical, it's relatively new, and it's hard to do it within an existing structure because it has a specific requirement in terms of regulation, quality, and so on, and time to market, and it is complex. So I decided to do it in medical, and the trigger for this is a family trigger. My brother is a professor of neurosurgery. We are 3 brothers, 2 engineers and 1 neurosurgeon. And we spend time together a lot. And when we discuss together, we see that in medical, it's more of an art than a pure science. It has a lot of complexity, and it's a lot dependent on the experience and the knowledge and the feeling of the surgeon. There's a set of rules, but the interpretation is very, very difficult. So I wanted to change industry. We knew what's happening in medical. It has a big purpose, saving life. At the beginning, I was very excited for each time where I go a new customer. If you get like Lamborghini as a customer, or Porsche as a customer, or Boeing as a customer, whatever, it's always fun because the products are exciting. But if you go back to yourself and you say, if one day you feel sick, you don't care if you are driving a Porsche or a Lamborghini, or if you are flying a private jet. If you are sick, it's the most important. This is the first thing to handle before doing anything else. So I wanted the purpose of medical, and I wanted to spend time with my brothers. I wanted to spend time in a family, so to put our knowledge together, to build something which is relatively unique. And business and money is not the first concern. So it's not because, I could have done 100 times more and better and easier and faster in the areas that I know. So purpose, family business, and also, behind my back of my mind is daring to do something complex and new. It's the fun of learning. If you come to work and you are not learning too much, it's not fun. So learning a new industry, it's fun. And so this is a story.
That's a great story. On the other hand, as you were now a serial entrepreneur? And did you also have the opportunity, or have you been approached by other budding visionaries or entrepreneurs, would-be entrepreneurs, with ideas or projects to assist them, to
Yeah.
invest in them, and so on? On the one hand, did that happen? That's one thing. And if so, did you take it up? And at what moment did you take it up in order to assist the one or the other?
Yeah, so I've done it on, to answer your question, I've done it on both sides. So I've done it when I started to create my MedTech company. MedTech was new to me, so I didn't know anything about medical technologies. So I started looking, and naive, I was new to the industry and very naive. So I started to do my kind of homework to see what's existing in this area. And I found a company doing heart modeling in Barcelona, doing a digital twin of the heart. And I happened that I knew the CEO, I knew him from another life. So I invested in this company and became on the board. And then continuing my network, I find a company which was doing a digital twin of the knee. I'm doing it for the spine, and they were doing it for the knee. So I also liked the team, so I invested in them and I became part of the board. And then I invested like normally in another company doing, and then I said in my mind, I wanted, as a naive, I wanted to build a digital twin of the entire human body. But to do this is extremely, extremely ambitious. It's much more complicated than anything you can think of. So it's not possible to do it. So I decided to focus on the spine, which is the expertise of my brother, who is a neurosurgeon, to build the spine, and then to invest in other companies doing other part of the body. And maybe one day we can create a group which kind of group all this together. So this is on the one side of the medtech, of the new things that I'm learning. On the other side, since I came from entrepreneurship, technology, and numerical simulation, there's plenty of companies that I know, and startups and scale-ups, and they need help. So I kind of continue to be in touch with them. I'm on the board of a couple of companies. I assisted a couple of other companies. So I invest and on the board of companies where I can be of use. So I could not like leave behind all the other activities and the experience that I built over the years. So yes, support to startups from my previous area of expertise and investments in the new area of expertise. And so, a diversified portfolio, let's call it this way, to spend my time.
Thank you. We're coming slightly to the end. So we talked about your journey and where you are now and how you approached it and so on. And if you would be able to do something differently, if you look back, not doing, not doing something, but so is there something or a few things where you would say, okay, knowing what I know now, with the experience I have now today, I would have approached this or that in a different way? Is there something where with hindsight you would have said, yeah, maybe?
Yeah, so knowing what I know now and how things are going, yes and no. So there's nothing to be regretted. So I think it's all went as I wanted, kind of, and brought the the path is, it cannot be like, you cannot have everything. So what I've done so far was pretty good. But if I wanted to do something like differently, is maybe I would have given, much less equity to investors. Now I know, the first investor, when I started the first company, somebody invested 75,000 euro in my first company, and for me was 75,000 euro at that time was like, wow, mind blowing. So I kind of gave them half of the company for. So today I would not do it. But again, they invested in somebody who didn't know anything about all this, and it paid up. One of the investors in my first company and invested in my second company 3 times more than what he invested, and just over a lunch. I didn't show one slide. I didn't show anything because he was happy with the first investment. And so on an anecdote way, I could have given a little bit less equity. This is one. And second, I would have sold a little bit later. If I think about it, how much we grew over the period after selling, I could have waited a little bit. But at the same time, I could have not met many friends. Maybe I would have not learned as much, and so on and so forth. So it's easy to look back and say I could have sold later, I could have gave less equity, and so on and so forth. But to be honest, I would not do anything. I will not. I don't have a regret on anything which was done.
That's good, because one should never have regrets and look at it as a learning curve. On the other hand, that was the past. And if you look now forward, and what would you like to see happening with your products now, or with the ecosystem, or what would you like if you would have the opportunity to look into a glass ball and say, okay, I would like this to happen, or I would like this to adapt, to change. What would it be on a positive note looking forward?
No, looking forward, I think things are going in the right direction. What would be great to have is to be able to get to market faster. So now we are building a product from scratch on the one side, so it takes time to build it. And then we are in a regulated industry. So once you build the product, and even when you have the product ready, you still need to go through regulatory approval to get like FDA clearance, CM. So
TRLs and so on.
Yeah. So the point is to, and I'm on the impatient type of person. So I need to hold myself. I cannot sell now. For instance, in my previous company, I sold the first product even before creating the company. Now I could not sell it because you cannot sell before having a CE mark product, or we don't have anything. So again, it's starting from scratch. But I cannot go to customer and fake it until I make it, because does not exist in this industry. So my wish is to find a way to innovate and to go fast, innovate fast in a regulated industry. I don't know. I didn't find the trigger to do it yet. But I'm pushing my, each time I hire somebody more, I kind of reduce the road, reduce the time for the roadmap. Basically trying to get to market fast, to be able to go and tell the world what we are doing, and make a patient benefit from it.
But maybe sandboxes could be the way to go.
Maybe what?
Sandboxes, regulatory sandboxes.
Yeah. But we are doing it like we are doing, we kind of re-engineered the roadmap to kind of deliver a product which allow us to go to market faster than, so it's a long story, but we organized our roadmap to be able to go to market fast and learn. We are applying things like, I don't know if you're familiar with lean startup concept, not to wait, typically in a MedTech, you can maybe wait 10 years before getting to market if you wait slowly. I want to do it in 5 in total, and we are trying to get the first product to market in 2 years, kind of story. So getting impatient a little bit, but finding a way to go through the right path.